It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports in a rainstorm? We do. Good afternoon, everyone, from our soaked DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego. We thank you for joining us on Hacksaw's Headlines, our Monday bonus podcast. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, not allowed to do the show out in left field today during the rainstorm, the venerable John Riley. We're going to be here for the next hour, our regular Monday bonus podcast, an absolute ton of topics on the table. Our podcast brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center, 9 stores in San Diego. You got projects planned for 2024. We want you to see what DIXIELINE can do to help you. And by North County Eye Centers, Poway and Escondido. We all need help with our eyes. Down road, when that happens, think North County Eye Center, Poway, Escondido. John Riley, we have a ton of topics on the table, a lot of late-breaking stories. Before we do that, let's remind everybody what happens when we're done talking topics on the table. They get the chance to stand up and sound off. It's called Fans Forum.
Yeah, you can get involved in Fans Forum. In fact, it's one of our most popular segments. It gives you a chance to ask Hacksaw a question, or maybe you have a comment about the Super Bowl coming up. Just type in your comment or question in the live chat on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum.
And a reminder, we are expanding all the things we're doing with our podcast. We want you to join what John calls Hacksaw's Insiders Group. How do they do that?
Yeah, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com. In the upper right corner is an orange box. Put in your name and email there. Get on our list. Join the team. We're sending out information like the best 15 minutes in sports most every day. One man's opinion. Plus, we got some great plans for the new year.
And a reminder, we invite you to share what we're doing with all your friends in your address book. Tell them about my website that's all written every day. Tell them about our Monday bonus Thursday podcast and give us a thumbs up. Give us 5 stars. John, we're only starting one place that's really important in San Diego right now, and that is what just happened at Viejas Arena over the weekend. It sure looks like San Diego State got the message.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Dutcher switched it up with the lineup, got some great results
We're talking about San Diego State stomping Utah State, which was 19-2 when they came into the building. Aztecs, it's a statement game. They had played so poorly, 3 straight road blowouts in 3 very tough venues. They turned the tables on the Aggies. Utah State walked in and got hit in the face with Aztecs defense, Aztecs energy, and the show. The Aztec fans were just to the left out of control. They trashed Utah State. If there was a police officer in the building, maybe he would have charged San Diego State's basketball team with common assault, because what they did defensively probably is against the law. But they banged them, they beat them up, they bashed the Aggies offense, which totally went away in the middle of the first half. The forwards played with unbelievable energy, have not really seen that much of the season. I think it's maybe the most complete game SDSU has played. And to me, I guess it's kind of like a statement game. They are now back, they think, in the Mountain West Conference playoff race. And obviously, we got 3 to 4 weeks left before we get to the Mountain West Conference tournament. Jay Powell and Micah Parrish, who've been MIA for a large chunk of the season, combined for 30 points, ton of rebounds, block shots. The guards, which have run hot and run cold, they combined for 26 points, and Jaden Ledee went double figures for the first time. He didn't have guys draped all over him. He got a lot accomplished. San Diego State hit 9 threes. They were down by 7 early. Utah State could not convert, started missing all their threes. Next thing you know, it's a 15-point San Diego State lead. And the Aggies, man, the look in their eyes and their face, their body language, 12 turnovers, 21 fouls, 6 for 23 from the arc, and they shot a miserable 41%. And I watched the Aztecs from the middle of the first half on. Their defense made every Utah State possession hard. They never let them get into their offense. Now they go back on the road. Hope there's not an ambush coming. They got to play at Air Force. Then they're going to play at Nevada on Friday. And they still have a trip to Logan, Utah. And I can imagine Utah State saying, we'll see your ass up in Logan because you're coming in here the last week of the season. What a complete game. Dutcher, last time we saw him, was red-faced, screaming, slamming his chalkboard in front of his players. The poor road game. They got the message, and that was a pretty quick turnaround. You know, from getting your doors blown off on Thursday, coming back and playing with that kind of anger in your eyes on Saturday. So huge win, San Diego State. And John Riley says, are they back?
Are we back? I think so. I'm encouraged. There's a number of things that happened in this game that caught my attention. Obviously, Dutcher changed the lineup, which he and Steve Fisher going back years, like rarely ever do that. And so they removed, what was it, Elijah Saunders and Micah Parrish, put in Jay Powell and a guy who really should be a starter in Darian Trammell. And it seemed to really change the energy. And the dudes that were now coming off the bench, they weren't, moping around. They came out and they had great games, Micah and Elijah Saunders. So that was really cool, that way that dynamic worked. But at the same time, they had 20, 25 former Aztec players that were in the house to support their guys. And, when Lamont Butler, or not Lamont Butler, but Micah Parrish hit one of those threes from deep, he gets out the Adam Seiko, phone. And so it just had all the good vibes, and it's all in Viejas Arena. I love it all. That's great.
And those fans, they were beyond out of control, but it was cool. But only counts as one. And
it's still a good one. I mean, it was the first place team they knocked off.
Yeah. Oh, they whacked them.
Yeah. So what? They're going on the road to Air Force. That's never an easy out. Then they're going to go on the road to Nevada.
Steve Alford and those guys, and that's not easy at all.
I'm going to be at that game. So I'll be the guy with the red and black somewhere amongst all the blue and white.
Okay. So we got San Diego State. That was a huge, complete game victory on Saturday at SDSU. From college basketball, you need to explain this one to me, John.
Yeah, this is just such a weird team, isn't it? I mean, sometimes they just be so awesome, and the other time you just scratch your head.
Yeah, last week, some of us at this table wanted to trade the owner, trade the general manager. A bunch of people want to fire the coach. Whole bunch of Laker fans on social media were telling you, trade half this roster. Now the people say trade LeBron James. And what do? They go into Boston without Anthony Davis and without LeBron James, and they beat the hell out of the Celtics. The Celtics were 22-2 at home, and the Lakers' backups, without their two superstars, whack them. And then they go to New York. The Knicks had won 9 in a row, even though one of their stars is hurt. And they just dismember the New York Knicks. Now, cost him Jared Vanderbilt, goes down with what might be a season-ending broken foot injury. That's a blow. But they made a change. Austin Reeves, you're running the offense. LeBron, you're playing out on the wing. And Reeves went off for a ton of points in Boston and in New York. And LeBron, when he played against the Knicks at the Garden, he had himself a really, really good night. Now, trading deadline is Thursday at 12 noon. Big question. What do? They're still in the running. They're still talking to Atlanta about DeJounte Murray, but the price tag seems to go up because Murray is wanted by a bunch of other teams. They're talking to Toronto now about a possible deal for one of their guards. The question is, they want to rid themselves of D'Angelo Russell. He's making boku bucks, 2-year deal. Some nights he'll score 39. Some nights he'll score 13. He's just so erratic. They're trying to put him in a deal. They got to find somebody that's willing to take the contract and take the guy's level of play, which is up and down, up and down. Everybody wants one of their number 1 draft picks. So trade deadline on Thursday. So you tell me, Jekyll-Hyde. I mean, do you believe what the Lakers did, Boston, New York, or do you believe the junk we've seen prior to that, how poorly they played against bad teams? I never know what we're getting, not tonight.
Well, I know. I was sitting in my chair, minding my own business, and you texted me and said, don't spill your beer, man. Look what's going on in the Laker game. And I quickly turned on. I couldn't believe the score. I mean, it was unbelievable. So, we go on and on about the supporting cast, and they're tinkering with it, trying to find the right guys to complement AD and LeBron. And now here the supporting cast goes in without the 2 big guys, and they win it all. So maybe the supporting cast isn't the problem. Maybe it's AD and LeBron and the way that they mesh with the other guys.
Okay, so Fans Forum chat room is going to be open. Looking for somebody to jump on the Laker line. Give us your assessment, what's right or wrong with the Lakers. And are you buying his insinuation, maybe we should trade LeBron James, who's only got 1 year left on his contract?
Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds awful sacrilegious to me.
Get some number ones back, and rebuild.
Okay, Fans Forum is open. If you're an Aztec fan, if you're an NBA Lakers fan, jump into the conversation. So let's go from hoops. Let's talk football.
Yeah, Lee, you got a big list here of news and controversies going on in the NFL.
Yeah, let's talk about, just kind of jump around the NFL roadmap the week of the Super Bowl. By the way, our Super Bowl preview will be on Thursday. You won't want to miss what we're going to talk about on that on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Bill Belichick, first name on the board, took out a full-page ad in the Boston Globe yesterday, thanking Patriot fans for a quarter of century of support. And it was from the heart. It was really kind of impressive. He's been a curmudgeon. He's really tough to deal with from the media standpoint. He doesn't care what anybody thinks. He does what he does. But it was really it was a human side of Belichick that hardly any of us who've been in and around the NFL have ever seen. And then yesterday morning, outside the stadium, Foxborough on Route 1, which is one freaking lane, which means traffic slow,
right.
Just 2 billboards
really
in each direction from the Patriots thanking Belichick
nice.
for 24 years of service. So
yeah, well done.
That was kind of cool. Okay, so that's the New England story. Dateline, Chargerville. I don't understand this. I hope this does not happen, but I think it already has happened. Jim Harbaugh is hiring an offensive coordinator who's had some success. His name is Greg Roman. Greg Roman was with the Baltimore Ravens as offensive coordinator. Prior to that, San Francisco 49ers as offensive coordinator during the Harbaugh years. Pretty good credentials, but Greg Roman is an RPO guy, run pass option.
Oh.
Greg Roman developed Colin Kaepernick. Greg Roman polished Lamar Jackson.
Interesting.
Do you want Justin Herbert running the football?
No.
Because that is part and parcel of what the RPO project is your quarterback is going to run options and he's going to bust some plays. But running quarterbacks have a history of getting busted up in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure.
I view Justin Herbert strictly as a pocket passer and nothing more than that. He'll scramble if he has to scramble and does have the ability at 6'6" to long stride for some big plays. I don't want him running RPOs. That's kind of weird to me that Harbaugh gets his crown jewel of a quarterback who's busted all the records for third and fourth year quarterbacks in the league, throw in touchdowns, quarterback rating. And he might allow Greg Roman to make him an RPO guy. I don't know that I like that.
Yeah, that's an odd one because shouldn't coaches not bring in their paradigm, their playbook? They need to mold it to the skill and talent of the team that they have. So it would be ridiculous for, to turn into like a run and shoot or an option or whatever with Herbert. I mean, this guy's got to be smart enough to run a more conventional NFL pocket passer kind of an offense, right?
Yeah, I was really strange. I don't want that quarterback RPO in it very often. Next topic on the table, Raiderville. They're about to make a move on an offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury couldn't come to terms on a contract with the Raiders. And I don't know whether that was with Antonio Pierce or whether that was Tom Telesco's influence. They wanted Kingsbury because they're going to go find a young quarterback. They wanted Kingsbury to develop the quarterback. So Kingsbury, 24 hours after talks with the Raiders kind of break down, goes to the Washington Commanders. That's kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
And Washington's got the second pick in the draft. And who's the top quarterback on the draft board?
Caleb Williams.
Where'd he come from?
USC.
And who was the consultant the last 2 years at USC?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Connect the dots.
There you go.
There we go. Raiders then hire Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator, which is a complete U-turn from what they wanted to do, which was throw the football down the field. Getsy had just been let go by Chicago Bears. Getsy was part of the development of the quarterback Justin Fields, and Getsy was also a guy who's a proponent of we are going to run the ball. I mean, Bears had a really great running game to complement the kid quarterback this year. Now, they don't have a running back because Josh Jacobs is a free agent. So that Raider decision is kind of weird to me, but that's where we are with the Raiders. UCLA. Oh, boy. Your guy, Chip Kelly. I'm going to use a word here that might fit who this guy is. The word is ingrate.
Ooh.
Chip Kelly has been given everything at UCLA. Their football budget is through the roof. Their athletic department deficit is through the roof because of Chip Kelly. He's had maybe one really good season. Everything sandwiched around it. Not so good. His attitude towards people, towards the alumni, towards the boosters, the big cigars, towards the media, not so good. And he's on this long-term contract. Chip Kelly interviewed Washington Commanders. Chip Kelly has interviewed with the Raiders. It's like Chip Kelly wants to jump ship.
Interesting.
Job is not completed at UCLA. And by the way, you're going to the Big Ten. And at this late date, Chip Kelly's contemplating stepping away.
Wow.
Does the word ingrate match the facts that I just presented? This is weird.
Well, just looking for another opportunity. I mean, this is the time to get back in the NFL, right? I mean, this is when all the action is. All the coordinators are getting hired.
John, they gave him everything he wanted at Westwood to be a Bruin.
Yeah, but it's not working. He knows that.
But you're gonna bail your college football program right before. Right
I mean, it's terrible timing. I agree. It's
cool.
terrible timing, but that is interesting news. I mean, I'll tell you what.
So I don't know if he's going to exit, but I'll tell you what, people in Westwood, people around UCLA, the alumni, the boosters, the big cigars ought to be looking at this guy through a different lens right now about, does this guy care about anything but himself? To bail on this program after they gave him everything and to bail on this program at such a late date. We go from that. This is an amazing story. National Football League. Unbelievably successful, owns the sports world, owns the economic advertising market. You tell me how this happens. A lawyer on Long Island gets arrested, gets indicted, insurance fraud scam with the NFL. This lawyer was linked up with 3 or 4 other doctors, fraudulent billing of insurance companies for injuries on behalf of players. This guy has just been sentenced to 12 years in prison. Everything he owns has been seized. He defrauded the National Football League at a $332 million in a 5-year period.
Holy crap.
And all the doctors, the 4 or 5 doctors that were part of his ring, who were filing fraudulent documents and forging documents.
Yeah.
How does this happen in the National Football League, which has its hands on everything that goes on as it relates to the National Football League? How does this insurance fraud happen?
Well, people aren't paying attention, obviously.
Yeah.
But we've seen this sort of thing happen in outside of the NFL, where there has been insurance fraud and this, people milking Medicare with bad billing and that sort of thing. It's sort of an indictment of our whole healthcare system, which is a different topic. But it is interesting because you figure the NFL is just so careful about how they spend their money. And was this with teams across the league, or was it just a couple of them?
No, across the league for injured players and doctors' bills. You had a rotator cuff injury.
Yeah.
You're a right tackle, so you go get examined, and the claim goes to these doctors, and these doctors attach a dollar figure, and they send it to the insurance company, and the insurance companies were paying it, and they thought some of the charges are absurd, excessive. And so this ringleader would take the insurance thing, and that spends some of the money would go back to the player for compensation.
So there was a little grift in there. There was a little kickback.
Is that the correct term? Yeah, grift. Okay.
Okay, so it's more than just these attorneys and these insurance or the doctors. The players were in on it.
No, the players, they weren't in on it, but the people who billed the insurance companies were the fraud.
Okay.
And they got all this money back.
Yeah.
Just
But then the NFL has to pay higher insurance premiums, because of this.
Based on the volume and the cost of the claims.
So they're getting screwed too. And then that just trickles down to the tickets that we pay.
Yeah, it just amazes me how this could go on for 5 years and nobody pays any attention to it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Okay, now we got another one. Dateline here. Put the board back up. Jacksonville Jaguars. The NFL is involved with FanDuel
Oh yeah,
and all the betting things. Jacksonville Jaguars had a vice president. We talked about this 6 months ago, who was fired when they found out, he was vice president of finance, that he was skimming money from Jacksonville's coffers to fund his own lifestyle, lavish living. This guy stole $22 million from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Unbelievable.
Finally got indicted and he's going to prison.
Yeah.
Jacksonville has gone to FanDuel, which is linked to the NFL as a corporate sponsor.
Right.
They want the $22 million this guy stole from the club and bet. This guy had a gambling addiction in addition to everything else. $22 million he bet. Jaguars want the $22 million back from FanDuel, the NFL sponsor.
Whoa. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, well, first of all, it's crazy that all the betting is so like incestuous with the teams and the broadcasting partners. That's obviously theft. That's fraud that occurred with the Jaguars and their executive. But if I'm like FanDuel or DraftKings, I'm thinking, well, we did nothing wrong. I mean, and besides the money that you gave us, we've already had to pay it out to the guys that won on the bets. So I don't think you can really hold them liable. This is just going after the deep pockets, isn't it? I mean, but when you get things stolen, you don't necessarily are guaranteed to get retribution or reconciliation for that, right?
Isn't it weird that they're going after the money from FanDuel, which is now a corporate partner with the National Football League?
Well, if anything else, it should come from the coffers of the Jaguars for being so incompetent to allow this guy to be, stealing money. And then hopefully they have some kind of an insurance plan. But to go after the big deep pockets is just, it's ridiculous.
I'm sure glad you did not cut law school at UCSD so you could rationalize how this is going on. One other topic here. This has to do with college football. We have talked incessantly over the last couple of months, John, about Super Conference, that this may be where college football is going to wind up. The Big Ten and the SEC have just formed a study committee to come up with a blueprint that will devise how a super conference could work in college football. The elite teams from the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, Big 12, the top teams would join. Everybody would have to fund their money to a certain level in terms of NIL money, and all the corporate money would come from the TV networks, would pour it into a pool, and the 24-team super conference would all share evenly. So the Big Ten and the SEC has picked up the flag and say, we're going to come up with a formula to how to make this super conference work. And then we'll present it probably to the whole NCAA. Kind of fascinating, because people recently have said this may be the way we're going to have to go, that only the top will be getting the big paydays. Everybody else left behind, the Wake Forest and the Oregon States of the world, will get their conference TV money. It just won't be at the volume they got in the past.
This is the way it's going to have to be. It doesn't have to be this way. This is just the way that the big guys are trying to monopolize the whole market. So, I don't blame them for having a conversation. It makes sense. It's the SEC and Big Ten that are having the discussion, but they don't want to let, ACC teams, or they don't want to let Pac-2 teams to be part of that process. So this is all them kind of just trying to rig the system for them. And this is just exasperates the whole haves and have-nots. I mean, God help you if you're a group of 5 school.
Exactly. So that's where we are. Hey, Fans Forum is open. We've just given you a ton of hot topics on the table. Join in the conversation about the NFL, Harbaugh, the Raiders, Chip Kelly. Is he an ingrate? You want to talk about the controversies off the field with all the stuff of money? We want to hear from you. We get to halftime. Hacksaw's bonus podcast on a Monday, brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center Stores. There are 9 locations in San Diego to serve you. You got projects for the winter into the spring, and it does not matter whether it's inside or outside, whether it's windows, doors, counters, bathroom cabinets, sinks, bathtubs, showers. DIXIELINE, the people to deal with. I wonder if they deal with kayaks and rowboats with 5 inches of rain here in San Diego during our Monday bonus podcast. But these are the people that we deal with. These are the people you should deal with. DIXIELINE. program note, our Super Bowl preview Thursday, regular 1 p.m. start time, Chiefs, 49ers. We'll be talking Super Bowl on Thursday. John, quickly, for everybody that's joined us on the live stream, introduce to them what Fans Forum is all about.
Holy moly, look at these people all piled in. Manny, Baller, Fig, Kevin, Zach, Bob, John, Chris, George, Earl, Victor, Craig. You're all on board in the Fans Forum. And other people, if you're watching or listening, you can get involved too. Type in your question or comment for Hacksaw in the live chat on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
And when we're done, go to my website, leehacksawhamilton.com. I write on it every day of the week. And in the right-hand corner of the homepage, we want you to join our team. It's called Hacksaw's Insiders Group. We email a lot of stuff out. Also, want to remind you, subscribe, because we put stuff up on our YouTube channel all hours, all different days and nights. If you get a ding, ding, ding at 2:30 in the morning, blame him because he's the one that's up that feeds it. But join us so you'll get the notices when we put something new on our YouTube channel. So we go from halftime. We got baseball to talk about here, John.
Yeah, we're getting close to spring training here. I'm getting fired up.
Well, we got the Dodgers, we got the Padres, and they both go to spring training next week because they start the season early in March in South Korea. Mike Shildt, the Padres' new manager, bunch of comments as they get ready to go to Peoria. Fernando Tatis is my right fielder. There will be no switch. In terms of the holes in left field and center field, he's of the opinion, great opportunities for Jackson Merrill and Jose Azocar. The relievers, by committee, they will all get the opportunity. Suarez, the left-handers from Korea and Japan, and he says we have 31 days to figure out our pitching rotation. So that was from Mike Shildt. Dave Roberts at the Dodgers Fan Fest. Ohtani will be the opening day DH. He is hitting now. His rehab from the elbow is complete. He's hitting, can't throw. Will be number 3 in the batting order. Dave Roberts kind of put a cloud over the starting pitching. Walker Buehler has recovered from the elbow surgery, second surgery of his career on that arm. He will not be ready to start the season. They're going to slow go with him. I would assume that Buehler's going to spend a month in extended spring training, just continue to build his arm and do all the regimentation. And I would assume maybe by May 1st, Buehler will join the Dodgers, be in the rotation. Dustin May has made progress beginning the throwing program. Target date for him to pitch coming off his elbow surgery July 1st. Clayton Kershaw making progress, his recovery from the lat surgery in his shoulder. It looks like August 1st will be the target date for him. James Paxton, the left-hander they just signed, when healthy, this guy's pitched well, 64-38 record, but he's had health problems 2 years in a row. He's kind of going to become an insurance policy. And the right-hander from Japan, Yamamoto, is going to be an every rotation guy, which means he'll pitch every 4th or 5th day. The Dodgers are not going to do once a week with him. He will be in the rotation. That's a different scenario than the Angels did with Shohei Ohtani. And the Dodgers, about an hour ago, traded our left-handed relief pitcher Caleb Ferguson. He goes to the New York Yankees for a young minor league pitcher. So the Dodgers are maneuvering an awful lot of people around. So I'm sure sometime in the next couple of weeks, you'll show up wearing baseball gear on our podcast. So what do you think about what Mike Shildt had to say about who's playing where in the outfield, and what Mike Shildt had to say about the starting rotation and bullpen by committee, and your reaction to all things Dodger Blue?
Well, I think the Padres have their, what do they call it? The talking statements, they've been passed down from Eric Grupner, that, they're not going to say we're going to win it all. They're not going to say we're going to have all-stars at every position. Now they're saying it's about the kids. And yeah, that kind of makes sense, especially if you're cutting back the payroll. Some Padre fans are kind of saying, they're sort of rationalizing it. And they're saying, well, that's the way it was always meant to be, right? We were going to have Tatis and Machado and Bogarts, and they were going to be complemented by these up-and-coming youngsters. But it still feels like, I don't know, is this a bait and switch, the way that they're selling the season tickets, but we're going to have a couple of minor leaguers to complement Tatis in the outfield? I don't know. I mean, I'm as a fan, I'm excited to see the new talent. but I'm not sure if I have confidence in this because the Padres still need more players.
Well, I think they do. Last I checked, do they have credibility in left field and center field?
No,
Not yet.
No.
Do they have a first baseman true DH? Not that I know of right now. No, the rest of the roster is okay. And I know there is a segment on social media that, hey, everything's fine. Well, if Azucar's hitting 206 in June and Merrill's not ready, then what do you got? You got problems.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, who's your first baseman and your DH? So I don't think it's a complete roster. I think it's a good team in unfortunately a very hard division because of what the Dodgers have done. And I still maintain it. I wrote columns about it this past week on my website. I still maintain you have huge question marks in that starting rotation. I mean, you do have Darvish and you have Musgrove, and you hope that they are completely healthy from the elbow and the capsule issues they both had. And everybody's talked glowingly about Michael King. He's going to be their number 3 starter, came from the Yankees. I don't know about the 4th and 5th starters, the guys who were thrown into the Yankee deal. At the end of the day, those guys had high ERAs, and they were in the Yankees. I had a retired player came to me this weekend and said, Yankees don't give away talent. If those guys were really good, they'd still be in New York.
Yeah.
So that's a big issue there with the 2 pitchers, Brito and Valdez. And then once you get beyond that, they don't have any depth at all. And they have any physical problems, I think they got all kinds of trouble in the rotation. Bullpen is really deep. So I think you were the one that made the absurd comment that's probably true. Bullpen day. Every 5th day will be a bullpen day.
I think it might turn into that.
So that's where we are there. And in terms of the Dodgers situation, I'm a little surprised with this injury update from Dave Roberts that Buehler's not ready opening day. Dustin May will be behind him before he gets there. And then Kershaw, now they're talking Kershaw August 1st. It does take time to rehab from capsule surgery. So Dodgers pitching, I'm not going to say it's suspect because they do have an awful lot of really good young arms still there. They made all those offseason changes and they only removed 1 starting pitcher, Ryan Pepio.
Yeah.
So Dodgers will be good in the lineup. Wow. That lineup
Did you see the quote from, what was it, Mookie Betts saying, oh, we're going to have a target on our back. Every time people play the Dodgers, it's going to be their World Series.
It's probably true.
But they always choke in the playoffs, and they haven't won a real World Series since 1988, Kirk Gibson and that whole squad. So, I mean, come on, Mookie.
Okay. Hey, you're a baseball fan. Agree or disagree with me about this Padre pitching thing? And John's down on the Dodgers because the Dodgers don't win the World Series very often, considering all the money they've spent. Join us, you Dodger or Padre fan. Join us, Fans Forum. We go from that. I knew something was going to happen. I'm not sure I agree with what happened. We're talking LA Kings hockey.
Yeah, they got rid of their coach. Is this going to solve the slump?
They must think so. I mean, you can't fire the roster. I guess that's the reality of any pro sports franchise. So you fire the coach. I mean, the Kings were 24-7 coming out of the gate. A phenomenal start. They're in first place. And then they went on a 3-14 binge and they stopped scoring. And they got inherent problems. They got a goaltending problem that has not been solved. And one of their goaltenders is gone for the year, Phoenix Copley. Cam Talbot can't play every game, and Cam Talbot's not what I'd call all-star goaltender. And they got guys making $8 million a year that aren't holding up their end of the bargain. Pierre-Luc Dubois has been just an unbelievable disappointment. And I think now we know why Winnipeg got rid of him and why Columbus before that got rid of him. And now the Kings are stuck with an $8 million a year contract for the next 8 years for a guy that's got 10 goals and doesn't seem to work real hard and seems to float. And Kevin Fiala's making almost $8 million. He came from the Minnesota Wild, scores goals, takes penalties, makes bad passes, etc. So Rob Blake's really got some struggles. So they dumped Todd McClellan, kicked him out in the street, and he had done a good job up until a month and a half ago. All of a sudden, he falls from favor. This is more on the roster. This may be a little bit more on Rob Blake because you're the one that gave out all these contracts, and you're the one who traded all these players to get Dubois and get Fiala. It doesn't seem to be working out. So I feel bad for McClellan. But he's a veteran coach. He did a great job in San Jose. He got fired. Went to Edmonton, organized that, did a good job. Then he got fired by the Oilers. comes to the Kings, and here we are out of the gate, does really well, and boom, look where we are. Kings hockey fans got to be concerned. I mean, it's different than down in Anaheim where the Ducks are in just a massive rebuild with every young player they can get their hands on, which means they're going to lose for a couple more years. This Kings thing is just stunning. So,
it's funny is when you go look at photos online of McClelland, every one of them, he looks angry.
Oh, yeah.
He looks pissed off. So did they give up on their coach? Is that what happened? Why the skid?
They stopped listening, and I think they stopped playing defensively. And they got second and third line guys that are making mega bucks that you would think if you're being paid $8 million, you're going to play and you're going to play hard and you're going to be a power forward and you're going to score goals and you're going to go into the corner and you're going to stand in front of the net. I don't see any of that happening with Pierre-Luc Dubois. And, I'm starting to say, must be you, because it surely can't be the teams that trusted you and gave you contracts. It's got to be you. Why are you like this?
Yeah. And I remember when they made the trade for Dubois, we were kind of praising that. We thought this was a good move, and now the whole thing's blowing up in their face.
So bad story with the LA Kings. We'll have to see where this goes. Other topics on the table, John.
Mary Lou Retton is in the news.
And so is Michael Andretti. This is a really weird story. Let's talk first of all about Mary Lou Retton, the Olympic great gymnastics star, America's girl, retired from the sport. She's got 4 daughters, became terribly, terribly ill about 2 months ago, almost died in the hospital for an extended period of time with a rare form of pneumonia. Her daughters went public with the illness. Her daughters said she has no life insurance.
Oh, man.
To which John and I reacted when the story first broke. How's that possible? Anyhow, the USOC and a lot of athletes poured their resources to get together and raised $460,000 to help pay Mary Lou Retton's hospital bills. Well, the Dallas Morning News had the same question. How come she doesn't have any insurance? They did an investigative report. She got $8 million in a divorce settlement and winning a lawsuit over a failed hip surgery. $8 million. Where's that money? How come with $8 million in the bank, she didn't buy health insurance, couldn't afford health insurance? That sounds really weird to me. So this story is not done. This probe is continuing. Was this a gimmick by her family to take in more money? She got $8 million in the bank. Why are you saying you can't afford to buy insurance? So weird story with Mary Lou Retton. Let's talk auto racing. Michael Andretti, legendary Andretti family, phenomenal IndyCar owner, all these victories, wants to go to Formula One. He made a proposal which included a $250 million payment for the application to become a team on the grid for Formula One. The 11 other European-based teams don't want him to get a cut of the pie. They don't want him, period, here. And this is Liberty Mutual owns F1. Liberty Mutual owns the Atlanta Braves, and Liberty Broadcasting, I guess, is the corporate name. They're trying to make this a global sport and really do things in the U.S. That's why they put all these new races in Vegas and Miami and Austin, Texas, etc. So the F1 people rejected his application and would not even set up a meeting to talk to him about where his application may have fallen short. And then finally, after all this global criticism comes out, they say the Cadillac engines the GMC was going to provide for Michael Andretti would not be competitive. And we don't want a bad team coming into our sport and getting a big cut of the media pie. There's a lot of money in F1. Then they refused to meet and discuss. They said, come back and talk to us in 2028.
28.
So Andretti he's really beside himself. He's upset. And here's F1 and Liberty, which owns F1. Liberty is based out of Atlanta, I believe. They're trying to grow the sport in the United States. And you're snubbing this guy who's really successful, has got the backing of GMC and Cadillac. Geez, that makes sense to me. Anyhow.
Plus he's got that name, Andretti.
That's right.
So you think they would welcome him. This reminds me of the super conference thing with the Big Ten and the SEC.
Arrogance.
Yeah, and they want to keep all the other guys out so they can keep the money for themselves, right? This is not consistent with expanding the sport. But I want to talk about Mary Lou Retton because there's got to be more going on to this story, right? I mean, now, granted, we talked about health insurance in our system in America, which is a whole other topic, but it's expensive. And if you got to go buy it on the open market rather as opposed to getting it as a benefit for a job, it's expensive. But she had kids. I mean, as a mother, she has a responsibility to her children to have health insurance, and she certainly has the means to do it. So how in the heck is she not covering this? And then what are they doing? A GoFundMe or something?
Yeah.
And they want all the people to chip in. It's like bailing out billionaires, you know? So there must be something else going on here, because it's just complete irresponsibility. But then it makes you wonder, you know, she was a star. What was it, in the 84 Olympic Games? And that was, holy moly, 40 years ago. I mean, she's a lot older now. Has she ever had a job? Has she ever had a job with insurance? Probably not.
It's weird. And like I said, the story has not been completely told.
Yeah.
And but the Dallas Morning News dove into this. How could somebody with this name recognition and this success as a spokesman for the sport, etc., be destitute, not have insurance? Well, she wasn't destitute. They found $8 million
Right.
in a divorce settlement and an insurance policy suit that she was awarded.
Well, you think she could have even negotiated that in some of her, marketing deals as a spokesperson for Wheaties or whomever was giving her a deal, is, hey, I need some health insurance, and make that part of the package.
So we'll see where the story goes, but sure doesn't shine a nice light on her. And she was so popular. We go from that. We got soccer to talk about.
Yeah. World Cup news. I saw they've been announcing where the games are going to be played.
This is kind of cool. Jerry Jones doesn't think so in Dallas. FIFA has awarded the championship game to the 2026 World Cup at the Meadowlands, New Jersey, number one market in the country, which is kind of surprising because that stadium pales in comparison to Jerry Jones' AT&T Stadium, Jerry's house in Dallas-Fort Worth. But the Meadowlands gets a championship game. The semifinals will be in Atlanta and will be in Dallas. And the opening group play games have now been announced. Team USA is going to play all their games out here on the West Coast. This is cool. They're not sending them to Mexico or Canada or some other venue. Team USA, Greg Berhalter, they're going to play 2 games at SoFi Stadium in LA. Their other 2 group games are going to be up in Seattle at the outdoor stadium where the Seahawks play. And so that's going to be cool. They're going to be our home team right here in our backyard. So that's kind of cool. The other soccer story, guys keep moving. MBAPPE, superstar, Paris Saint-Germain, is out. He wanted a $77 million extension to stay there in France. They said no. Contract was blocked by ownership. He's going to Real Madrid. So he's coming back to Spain. He, like a whole bunch of other guys, have turned down Saudi PIF blood money. He's not going to Saudi Arabia either. So he's coming back. He's going to play for Real Madrid, whom he always wanted to play for. But Paris Saint-Germain said, no, we're not paying the $77 million.
Well, I want to go back to the Team USA and the World Cup thing. Didn't Stan Kroenke make a big stink that I wasn't going to, provide my stadium for the World Cup? What happened to that?
He did not want to give them SoFi Stadium championship game without getting a cut of the pie in the championship game.
Oh, so these are pool play games then?
The group play, they were talking about Team USA.
Yeah.
That's out here. And there'll be 2 at SoFi. There'll be 2 in Seattle for Team USA. Mexico City is going to host Mexico's group play. The Canadian World Cup team is going to play in Toronto for their first group play. So what they're doing is they're placing these teams, the host teams, in a place that's going to be a magnet with big stadium facilities. But Kroenke wanted soccer, but Kroenke did not want to give them the stadium for the championship game and not get any benefit out of it, where all the money goes to FIFA.
Yeah, well, I don't blame him for that, But to the other comment about Mbappe and he's turning down the Saudi money and everything else, and we're seeing that with soccer players, leaving the league or saying they don't want to go. But with LIV and the PGA, we don't really have any examples of that, of guys that have been in LIV and have come back.
There are a couple no names who went to LIV and it didn't work out and they didn't like it and they asked to be released and they were released. And that opened up windows for John Rahm to go, and the window for the top player in the European League. Instead of coming here, he went. I think his name is Adam Maronk. And then the one from England just left the Pro Tour. He's gone to LIV. And of course, there's Victor Hovland from Norway, who is rumored to have an offer. Hasn't decided to go yet, but he's not played in a PGA tournament yet this early in January into February.
Wow.
And he might go too. It's a crisis of unbelievable proportions, because, John, if you and I stood at the first green at Torrey Pines when I teed off here, and I said, John, aside from Xander Schauffele, name me anybody that you might recognize and know on the PGA Tour right now. Could you?
No, I don't think I could.
It's a problem, because all the really recognizable names, from what was Phil Mickelson to John Rahm, what is now, from Brooks Koepka to Dustin Johnson to DeChambeau in his mouth, they're all over there.
Right.
So the PGA's got a massive problem right now. How do they reclaim the momentum? Granted, there's some good young players on this tour, but there's no names in neon lights, because they're all playing in the Saudi Super League. That's why getting this merger accomplished, they hope to have it done by April when the Masters is played. It's become so complicated because there's no identity outside of a few odd names that we might recognize. No identity on the PGA Tour.
Well, how does the PGA decide how to market their sport when they don't really have a marquee guy? Because usually you want to put all your eggs in a basket for,
Yeah, Tiger Phil.
Exactly. Well, who is that? I mean, there's no one to be the face of the PGA.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele, there's nobody that's real recognizable, and those guys haven't won Grand Slam events. It's a big issue. Okay, those are topics on the table. Our Monday bonus podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center Stores, 9 locations to serve you in San Diego, and by North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido. You got projects for the home, you need DIXIELINE Lumber. We're all going to need advice and direction and exams for our eyes. Think North County Eye Center, Poway, Escondido. John, ready, set, go.
Okay.
Fans Forum, here we go.
We got a couple of quick ones right here for you, Lee. This first one's from Baller. It goes, from Baja to the Canadian Rockies, react to me. And then Zach has to say, call my Kiss My Aztecs hotline.
Thank you for listening. Those were phrases that were on the radio, whether management liked it or not.
Yeah. And then right here, we'll talk a little Aztecs. Aztecs catapulted to number 24 in the AP poll.
Well, they're in, but they can't afford to lose, because they'll bounce right back out if they lose one of these 2 road games coming up. Good program, tough season. I mean, I'll say this, and this may not go down very well. Last year was a spectacular season in the history of Aztec basketball, once in a lifetime experience. Last year's great success was fueled by a tremendous coach in Brian Dutcher. It was triggered by a whole pile of players that got the 6th year of eligibility and stayed as super seniors because of COVID. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Do not mistake Aztec basketball with North Carolina or Duke or some of the other year-by-year national powers. That was great for the program. It was great for the school. It was great for our community. That was a once-in-a-lifetime thing because of the extra years of eligibility those guys got and elected to stay and play.
Well, why not again? I mean, Butler did it. Butler went to the championship game 2 years in a row. So, yeah, sure, NIL and transfer portal have changed things, but there's a lot of guys going one and done, So, Kentucky isn't what Kentucky used to be, and North Carolina and Duke aren't what they used to be. So why not? And if not the Aztecs and other Mountain West Conference, it doesn't have to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
But the NIL has changed everything. It's really hard to get guys. And that's why San Diego State struggled to get any big men to import this year, because they didn't have the NIL dollars to match. The guys they wanted got stolen from at the last minute because somebody else called them at the last minute with dollar bills in their hands. So that, not to say that this won't be a great Mountain West Conference tourney. This might be the best Mountain West tourney we have ever seen. There are 5 to 6 really good teams. And the wild card to me is neutral floor in Vegas. I think that changes a whole bunch of things.
It's not neutral for the Aztecs. They win there all the time.
Exactly. But it's not like you're going to Las Vegas or the Pit in Albuquerque where you might get ambushed.
That's a whole other deal. Right?
Okay. Next question.
Okay. Let's go here to John. And he says, Leafs, Lee, you got to rock the red. You need a Capitals hoodie.
Oh, my goodness. I got so many hoodies, it's ridiculous. But I am a born and bred Maple Leaf fan, and I like the Oilers, and I'm a huge Kings and Ducks fan. I like hockey. So I violated all the principles. I don't wear a shirt and tie to work here because John dresses in T-shirts, so don't beef at me alone. But now Washington Capitals, unbelievable run with Alexander Ovechkin, but they're kind of at the finish line.
Well, that's your childhood team, right? The Leafs.
Yeah, I was not a Ranger fan. Did not like the Islanders. I grew up watching Hockey Night in Canada as a kid. I got access to it on TV, and they were always the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens.
You know what I've always wondered about with the Maple Leafs? It just kind of bugs me. Is why is it not the Maple Leaves? Leaves.
I don't know. I don't have an explanation. It's probably the only thing in the world of sports that I don't have an explanation for. Why it's the Leafs.
Okay, let's go on to the next. Let's talk to Kevin here. He goes, I was worried if the Padres had enough pitching.
You should be worried. They've got 7 guys with experience in the starting rotation. 7. But that group includes Johnny Brito. It includes Valdez, who were both throw-ins in the Yankee deal. And it includes Adrian Morejon, who has not yet established himself. So that's part of the 7 starters. You're going to get some injuries. Now, can these guys pitch? We're going to find out because they're going to have to be in the rotation to start the season. They could be in trouble. I don't have any problem at all with how they have loaded the bullpen because they've got 9 guys who have a lot of experience and a fair amount of success pitching out of the bullpen, whether that's setup guy, 7th inning guy, 8th inning guy, closers, plus we obviously got the 2 guys coming from Japan and Korea. I think the 9 in the bullpen are solid. I just think they may have 7 in the rotation, but I'll tell you what, there's at least, I'd say 3 to 4 of those 7 that have to prove themselves, at least to me.
Well, that's the way it always is every year going in, right?
It wasn't last year.
Well, but they had 5 guys in the rotation, but then they had 8 or 9 other guys that were either 4A guys, up and coming, some free agent signings that are just all those depth pieces.
Yeah, but there's no Snell, there's no Waka, there's no Lugo. Those were proven commodities.
And Martinez.
And Nick Martinez, multi-role.
Yeah.
So that's 4 guys who had done it to different degrees of success.
How about Trevor Bauer?
He's still there.
Yeah, why not? Why not Bauer?
I don't think there's enough money in the till.
Well, I mean, who knows how much he can actually get,
Well, he'll get whatever the major league veteran minimum is for a guy that's got all that success, but that might be $5 million, or he's still there, and Urias is still there. But I don't know that the Padres are going to spend very much more money. I was told they have less than $18 million to spend, and they may have to reserve some of that in case they are forced to make some type of trade to stay in the pennant race. So I don't think they're going to spend it all now because they want to have something in reserve if they need to go out and make a trade. They have to trade young guys to go get something established to keep themselves in the pennant race. But I kind of agree with Kevin. I'm just worried that they don't have enough front end starting pitching. Once you get beyond once you get beyond Musgrove, and if Michael King is everything people have told me he is going to be, that still leaves 4 and 5 and insurance policy guys if you have injuries.
What are they going to do if Darvish and Joe Musgrove get hurt again, or the injury lingers?
They got problems.
Then they're screwed.
Because Robbie Snelling's their top minor league pitcher. He's not ready. He's at least a half year, if not longer, away. And the young high school kid, Dylan Lasco, has hardly pitched at all above Class A. He's not ready to pitch at the major league level. So just got to keep your fingers crossed that AJ's assessment of those 2 pitchers that they got at the back end of the rotation from the Yankees, that those 2 with Michael King are all going to be able to do it.
Well, but he's a good scout, right? That's the one thing you could say about Preller. He can identify the talent.
Boots on ground. Yeah. I mean, there is a proven track record there of identifying players. But as a retired baseball guy told me on the weekend, Yankees don't have a history of giving away top prospects.
Yeah.
They got rid of 3 guys.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, right. Next question.
Let's go here. Let's go to Victor. He says, Hacksaw, does Kershaw come back to the Dodgers? Brashear was picked up today, but I can see Kershaw in the bullpen.
The surgery is complicated. This capsule surgery, which is what scared the daylights out of me when they diagnosed Joe Musgrove with the same thing. Now, he did not need surgery, but those things get re-injured. That becomes a big issue. Kershaw won't be back till August 1st. I believe he signs a 1-year deal or a half-year deal or a half-year deal with an option. And I think Kershaw will be there, but I think he'll be a back of the rotation guy and a spot starter, and that'll be it. They just brought Brashear back. They traded Caleb Ferguson to the Yankees to open up the spot to get Brashear, who they fixed. I mean, he throws hard. And he was with the Red Sox, and he had a high ERA, and the Dodgers figured him out, and he had a good back half of last season. He shopped himself around, and the Dodgers brought him back. I think it was on a 2-year extension. They just did that today. But the one thing the Dodgers have, a lot of other people don't. They got the young gun Bobby Miller, who really pitched well in the crunch last year, and they've got the other young pitchers, the Gavin Stones of the world. There's about 4 of them that are still in their organization. That maybe one of those winds up surfacing and gets to Dodger Stadium.
The Padres and Dodgers pitching staffs are like polar opposites, right?
Oh, right now they are, yeah.
Yeah, because the Dodgers have a lot of name brand guys that you can count on, and their young kids are far better than the young kids for the Padres.
Right.
So they're in a good spot. Kershaw, I always keep wondering, does he still have it, or has he lost it?
Well, he seemed to have it, but there's a wear and tear factor. All the innings he's pitched, only so many bullets in the gun, and then the shoulder capsule finally gave out, and so he's had the surgery. Guys can come back from that, but it takes a chunk of time to recover from capsule surgery.
Okay, let's go here to Craig, and he says, do you both get a chance to go to a lot of Dodgers, Padres, and Angels games? Nothing like going to a game. Hot dogs, peanuts, and beer.
Love the atmosphere. Love the atmosphere at Petco Park. Haven't been much to Dodger Stadium. I loved it. A few times I've gone. Did spend a chunk of time doing stuff up at Angels Stadium. But it's nothing like baseball. I give the Padres ownership a lot of credit. What they turned Petco Park into was a destination point.
Oh, big time.
And it's right next door. I saw you sitting in the bar yapping in the gas lamp district. And now they've taken Gallagher Square and have reconfigured that. And I think they're putting shops and stuff in, restaurants underneath out in the outfield where the Tony Gwynn statue is. So the Padres have done a phenomenal job growing the area around the stadium to make it a truly great event. I thought one of the coolest things when they first opened this, and I think I mentioned it at that point in time to Ron Fowler. I said, what the Padres did, well, this was actually Lucchino and Moores that created it. I said, but what you guys did, there was that little baseball field for kids out in what's now Gallagher Square. Those kids with their dads and mom bringing their bat and glove and hitting a ball at the mini Petco Park. That was so cool because those are things that sell the game forever to families. I mean, just fabulous marketing things. And then obviously what they do with the military and then what they do with the giveaways. I mean, this is not just balls and strikes and home runs and strikeouts. When you go to a Padre game, it's just a cool event.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And, just to answer Craig's question, I usually go to about 2 or 3 games a year, usually 1 or 2 at Petco, and then 1 or 2 on the road. And I've gone up to Dodger Stadium to watch the Dodgers play the Padres. I remember one time I got hit in the mouth by a foul ball. It was crazy the way that one went down.
Yeah, because you spilled your beer on your shirt.
Well,
That's why you're upset.
The ball, I thought I was going to catch it, and it was back spinning. Because we were in the second deck behind home plate, and I went to catch it. It fell off my fingers and hit me in the mouth and bounced off. And then I fell backwards into this big bosomed lady next to me. It was amazing. But to your point, the little baseball field is cool. I mean, because did you notice how the pregame guys, with Pomeranz and Sweeney, they'd go out there and they'd use it as a place to conduct a clinic on television. Then you got the kids playing ball kind of there that they can be Manny Machado. And then sometimes you get former players out there that are actually pitching the balls. What a great thing. And I know the Giants have a similar setup right by that Coca-Cola bottle in left field.
One of the coolest things that Padres did early on at Petco, I didn't realize this till much later. They went out to one of the little leagues, and I don't know whether it was in Escondido or it might have been out in the East County. And we have the rookie league. You have 8 teams in rookie leagues, which are 8, 9, 10-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And they bought shirts, Padre shirts for each team, but each team got a different type of Padre shirt. And it was like the uniforms.
Yeah.
One rookie league team would have the Padres and the pinstripes from the Gary Templeton era. Another one would have the Padres and the pinstripes, the brown pinstripes, the Tony Gwynn era. Another had the gold or the one that the yellow and brown way back in the day, Taco Bell.
Cito Gaston.
Yeah.
Way back then.
And so there were 8 teams and they each were the Padres, but they had their shirts were from a different Padre era. It was really cool. I saw pictures of it. It was neat.
That I love that. You know, this is kind of a little league rabbit hole here, but I remember when I played, you couldn't really wear the official uniform. There was like licensing issues and everything. And now they encourage it because they see it as a marketing opportunity. And then, you know, the light bulb went off for MLB. Finally.
Oh yeah. You see an 8-year-old wearing a Padre throwback. That's his team is wearing that throwback. And they're playing against a Padre team that's wearing the blue and the orange in the script. That's cool. And then you go to the game with your kid and he gets to play in that little mini Petco park out in left field in Gallagher Square. That is so cool. Because that's a memory of a lifetime.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And what a great place. I mean, that's like for young people, for kids, for older people, they got everything to offer. Funny
story. Last story here, and we'll move on to some more. You talk about taking a foul ball in the head. So I'm watching a Padre game about a year ago. One of my friends is a morning news anchor at CBS 8, Neda Iranpour.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet lady.
She is.
So I'm watching the game, and I think it might have been against the Giants. Somebody of the Giants hits a home run, left field. And I see this guy stand up wearing a Giant jersey. His wife stands up wearing a Giant jersey. He's holding the baby, their 8-month-old, hold it in one hand. He catches the home run ball with his right hand. And I told my wife, I said, that's Neda Iranpour.
Oh, she did that?
Her husband caught it.
Oh, her husband did.
She's standing right there. He's got the baby in one hand, catches the home run ball in the right hand. It was so cool.
Wow.
I promptly texted her and she put it out on the internet and social media of her husband catching a home run. That's cool.
She's
Stories
terrific,
about pickup. Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Okay, we move on.
All right, here. Let's go to Manny. He goes, why do people belittle the 2020 MLB season? I remember seeing Padre fans and Braves fans being excited during the playoffs. If it didn't count, then why are those fans so interested?
Well, 2020 was a hybrid season, but when in the record books, it counts. But there are people in the media that use it as an asterisk. You know, the Dodgers have won only one World Series, the 1988. With Kirk Gibson home run. Nobody's paying attention to the Dodgers win the World Series in 2020. Yeah, it was a COVID season, but they earned what they earned with the schedule they had to play. So I don't pay any attention to that criticism.
Yeah, well, as a Padre fan, if the Padres had won that World Series, I mean, we would be on cloud 9. I mean, we'd be celebrating it. But the Dodgers did, it's just a dig. That's all it is. It's a dig, and it should be an asterisk because it was a shortened season. It was a different kind of a situation.
Everybody played by the same rules.
They did. So it's a legitimate championship the Dodgers had, but it deserves an asterisk. I mean, it's just like, Roger Maris getting 61 because they played more games. That deserved an asterisk too.
Yeah, but most people don't pay attention to that star next to the 61. Yeah, he broke Root's record.
But it's good. It explains it. It provides more context, and I think that's good for the sport.
We do the same thing with Bonds. You do the same thing with Mark McGwire.
Those guys go in the Hall of Fame if I'm in charge.
Okay, move on here.
Move on. We'll go back to Chris here. He goes, Hacksaw, how many bleeping sweatshirts do you bleeping own?
I own a lot. There's a lot of clothes. I don't think I told John. I said, I don't think I own anything that doesn't have a logo on it. But actually, I do have a shirt and tie I wear occasionally. But I don't own a suit. I know John owns got a closet full of suits because he's Mr. Industrialist.
Well, I see you on the news on KUSI.
Yeah.
You'll wear the tie and shirt. So good for you.
I return it to JCPenney at noon after I get off the air.
But it is true. Every time you roll in here, you have a different sweatshirt with a different logo, and I love it. It's awesome.
We look pretty good. Okay, carry on here.
Carrying on. Let's go to do some social media here. There's a lot of good social media comments, and we will go here to Padres. This is a good comment here from Super Reviews for You. He goes, Padres got around 21.5 million before the CBT number and need to stay a couple of mil clear for a call up or two. Bauer, 1 league minimum. Michael A. Taylor, 1 year, $9 million deal with a player option for $9 million to keep the AAV down. Sign Eddie Rosario for a year for $6 million. Sign Garrett Cooper, 1 year, $3 million. Here's your lineup. Kim at second, Bogart shortstop, Tatis right field, Manny third base, Campy catcher, Rosario left field, Cooper DH, Cronenworth first, Taylor in center field. Your rotation, Musgrove, Bauer, King, Darvish, and Pedro Avila. The pen, Suarez, Peralta, Wilson, Matsui, Santos, Go, Cosgrove, Luis Patino.
Too much data there.
There
Too
is
much
a lot of
info.
data, but
Okay.
it's actually well thought out.
Well, with the exception of this, you're not going to give Michael Taylor $9 million to hit 230. Now, granted, but you were paying Grisham $5 million to hit 200 with a Gold Glove. Taylor's not Grisham, I don't think. Bauer, that price is going to be a little bit higher just based on being a vested veteran. You have to make the decision where you take all the heat we're going to take if we let Bauer go out to our mound based on his personal choices and his social life. They have to keep money in reserve because if you have injuries and then your hand is forced to go make a deal, get a veteran, they don't want to go over this luxury tax again because the penalties is like 100% tax this next time if you do it a fourth time because they're over at 3 years. That's why they're resetting this thing down to where they are. So I don't think it's a complete team. Preller has faith in the pitchers he got from the Yankees. That's why they've not been able to do anything else. And then now there's virtually nobody left on the open market outside of JD Martinez, and he's not coming here for $1.1 million. That's why he hasn't signed anywhere yet. Virtually all the other DHs, potential decent guys, are gone. And, I'm not bringing back Choi, and, I didn't want Joey Gallo, etc. But so Michael Taylor at $9 million to hit 230. Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think so either on that one. That's too much. But, he has the right idea, here, super reviews. I mean, like Eddie Rosario. Man, that guy had a hell of a World Series when he was playing for the Braves.
That was 2 years ago, though.
Yeah, but the point is that you get some of these veterans 1-year deals, but you need to complement it with some of the young guys. So Jackson Merrill needs to be in that lineup somewhere. Maybe Jacob Marcy, someone like that.
Well, that's what was the word Mike Schilt used? Opportunities.
Yeah,
there's opportunities there. Now we'll see if they can hit. Go ahead.
All right, let's go here. This is another one with a little bit of data. This is from Mr. Bugman talking about Chargers. Most of the good players fell into their lap. Joey Bosa, number 3, Herbert, number 6. Look at all their first and second round busts, especially the ones they traded up to pick. Kenneth Murray, Manti Te'o busts. Imagine if they had drafted Mahomes at 7 instead of Mike Williams. Mahomes went 10th to the Chiefs. Not saying Mahomes takes them to the Super Bowl. No, he would have ended up like Rivers and Herbert.
Well, it was interesting because Anthony Lynn wanted them to draft Mahomes, and Telesco and Spanos did not do it. And Mahomes had done so many great things. When he played Texas Tech, I believe it was. He'd done so many great things in college in that system. But they must not have thought he was sound enough because there's a lot of other people passed on Mahomes, too, that probably thought much along the same way. So they got a problem now because all their young guys had some good seasons and their payroll went up. The amount of money those guys, the Joey Bosa's, he's not worth $36 million cap figure now because he can't stay on the field. And I've been very disappointed in Murray. And Derwin James, as good as he could be, Derwin James is not Kyle Hamilton. That's what a safety should be. We saw Hamilton and all the things he's done.
He was amazing.
Yeah, just absolutely amazing. So they've made some mistakes. Some guys haven't panned out. Some guys have just been plagued by injuries. But they do sit there and draft 5 and 37 in rounds 1 and 2. So they're going to get some good players. And if they get creative, if Joe Ortiz, the new general manager, starts taking phone calls and say, who wants a quarterback? We'll give you the 5th pick and you can get your quarterback, and maybe you trade down from 5 to 10 and you get the other guy's number 2. So now you're drafting 10, 37, and whatever that other guy gives you in the second round, you get a chance to get 3 really good football players. And if you're a good organization, then you make hay with your 3rd and 4th round picks, and that can be done too.
Yeah, they got some big decisions to make. Oh, yeah. But just one of the names on that list, Manti Te'o. I mean, how long did he even last in the NFL?
I would say 3 to 4 years here, and he wasn't a game changer.
Yeah.
I think he bounced around for maybe 5 years total.
Well, and then, the other thing about, could have drafted Mahomes. Didn't the Chargers want to draft Tom Brady, but like Mike Riley back in the day was trying to get him to sign him?
Yeah, but the whole world was. The guy stood on the draft board for 6 rounds.
Yeah.
But a lot of people saw potential, not necessarily superstar productivity at the University of Michigan. But the whole world passed on Brady, and, whole world passed on Brock Purdy too. And by the way, he's playing this coming Sunday.
Yeah, he is. Okay.
All right, let's do one more.
All right, let's talk here a little bit about MLB stadiums. This is from Snuffy Ballparks. He says, as long as taxpayers foot the bill for stadiums, the amount of money the owners have for player salaries is quite large. Fans often comment, quote, "It's not my money." In many cases, it is.
Sure it is.
The system is rigged for the wealthy. Look at the owner profit in the sale of the Orioles. The stadium there is owned by the state. In part, taxpayers, mostly not even baseball fans, are paying player salaries there. Force all professional teams to pay their own way and salaries will go down.
Well, I don't know that that's a correct statement. It's not as if the communities, the counties, and the states are paying 100%. It's all changed. That's why it's been so hard to get anything accomplished in the state of California. But there has been a massive revolt. Now, does it take a contribution from the city, the county, the state? Yeah. In Buffalo, where they're building this brand new stadium for the Bills, that's a three-way deal. The NFL and the Bills are part of that equation, but so is the city of Buffalo and Erie County, which is putting a lot of money into it. But it is a joint consortium now. It's not like we're writing a check and giving it to Dean Spanos and here's your stadium free of charge. It's not that way anymore. I don't think hardly anywhere in sports.
I think this is a disgrace. I mean, when taxpayers are forced to subsidize, in this case, a corporation. I mean, it's not like we're being forced to subsidize other large corporations outside of the world of sports. So, yeah, I just think it's, in my opinion, the improper role of government to be doing that. But at the same time, if government and taxpayers don't subsidize, you're not going to see these Taj Mahals that are built all over the United States.
But the unique thing, Stan Kroenke paid that whole thing himself. So
good for him.
That's his stadium. He funded it. I haven't seen very many owners do that in modern day sports.
No, I mean, what did Jerry Jones? Did he fund that, or did taxpayers?
That was a whole combo of NFL, Jerry Jones, and the state of Texas, where everything is big.
Yeah, right.
Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed our Monday bonus podcast. Thursday, 1 o'clock, Super Bowl preview, Kansas City, San Francisco. We'll be talking history. We'll be talking about my experience in a Super Bowl. We'll talk 49ers, and we'll talk Chiefs. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber Home Center Stores. Buy it, fix it, guarantee you'll like it for 2024. And by North County Eye Center, Poway, and Escondido. John, take a deep breath, get your notes together. We'll talk NFL Super Bowl come Thursday.
I can't wait. Are you going to hook up with your cul-de-sac friends and have some shrimp like last week?
Yes, definitely. We have a party on my cul-de-sac in Rancho Bernardo that is unbelievable, and luckily the police don't find out about it. Hey, listen, thanks for being with us. Hope you've enjoyed everything. We're glad to have you part of our team. Hope you'll subscribe, share, tell all your friends what we do Mondays and Thursdays, Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.